Fay was humming to herself as she tripped up the dingy stairs to her flat, violin case in hand. The hum was a snatch of a song that had been haunting her all afternoon, very melancholy, very French, the sort sung by some waif on a street corner in a husky voice that caught at the heart. She couldn't think where the tune had come from. It had just popped into her head and made itself at home. Perhaps it had something to do with the piece of news she'd received that morning. It was the middle of March, sunny, with that clear light that made grimy old London look washed clean. On her way back from her rehearsal, she'd noticed with pleasure the daffodils in Kensington Gardens opening into flower. The evenings were still chilly. She'd have a bath later if Lois hadn't hogged all the hot water. First, she'd grill some Welsh rarebit for supper, if her flatmate hadn't finished off the cheese. The flat was on the first floor of a cream-coloured building near Whiteley's department store in Bayswater, and it had two principal advantages. Firstly, it was only a short step from here to the Albert Hall, where the orchestra Fay currently played for was based. Secondly, the flat on the other side of their living room wall was empty, and the elderly man living above, very deaf, so no one ever complained about her practicing. Downstairs was Jean-Paul's, a hairdressing salon, and Fay enjoyed catching glimpses of the clientele emerging with fashionable crops or elegant updos. Jean-Paul, who was a sweetie and had asked the girls to call him by his real name, which was Derek, said he couldn't hear her violin over the noise of the dryers, but wished he could, so there were no problems there either. There had never been any question as to what Fay would do after she left school 4 years before. With rigorous coaching from Signor Bertelli and the determined support of her mother, she had secured a place at the Royal College of Music, from which she'd graduated 6 months ago. She played wherever she could get work, but hoped that a permanent position with the West London Philharmonic Orchestra might open up soon. It was because one of the second violins had injured himself that she was practicing with them at the moment. On the landing, she stopped mid-hum, hearing the jangling tones of Cliff Richard and the Shadows, Lois's passion of the moment. She opened the door of the flat to find her flatmate in housecoat and slippers, lounging on the sofa, fair hair in rollers, painting her fingernails oyster white. "Hello, darling." Lois's plummy tones rang above the music. "I'll be out of your way in 2 shakes. Simon's fetching me at past. How was your day?" "Lovely, thanks." Fay put down her instrument and shrugged off her coat, looping it over a hook. "What about you?" "Oh, mad as ever. Rescue that, will you?" The shadows had faded, to be succeeded by an irritating scratching sound. Fay went and lifted the stylus, then stopped the turntable. The sudden silence was blissful. Despite their different tastes in music, it was hard to be annoyed with Lois, a bright, cheerful girl employed as a secretary in an advertising agency and currently dating one of the account managers. Fay had answered her newspaper ad for a flatmate a few months before, and they'd taken to one another at once. She liked sharing with Lois because she was even-tempered and didn't penny pinch, and also because she was out most of the time. The downsides were few, but principally derived from Lois's inability to do anything quietly at any time of day or night, and her somewhat erratic approach to housekeeping. Fay started to say, "I had a bit of good news, actually," but was too late. Lois had jumped up, blowing on her nails, and was flying to her room. "There are chocolate eclairs in the kitchen," she called behind her. "Help yourself." And bang went her bedroom door. In the shabby kitchenette, Fay explored the pantry and was relieved to find both bread and cheese for her rarebit. There was even a scraping of mustard left in the pot. An eclair would finish supper.